Hey, it's TwoSun Tuesday, and I got this guy right here. As you saw from the video thumbnail and stuff like that, this is the TS166. It's a Wong design here. Nice contoured and milled titanium handle. It is in D2 steel. This is a reissue, I guess. It came out right before the point where they started branding the model numbers onto the knife itself. I think I ended up picking this up from White Mountain Knives, but they were also available for a little bit through the eBay auctions and the Amazon stuff. But I haven't seen them around for a little bit. Um, I really love this damn thing. It's a nice slender carry, as we can see. It's not very tall. The flipper tab is very prominent, but it kind of needs that because the pivot isn't further back, so you kind of need that extra kind of oomph or momentum. But the detent is fairly strong on it, so it really thwacks out with authority. So I guess if you're not a huge fan of very long flipper tabs, you could probably grind off a little bit on it, and that might help. But other than that, that's about the only thing that kind of is just a little detrimental, I think, overall. But this thing is just a freaking beauty. Wong, if you're not familiar, he's a Chinese knife maker. From what I can tell from his Instagram and definitely his knife designs, dude's got some mitts on him. And that usually translates into his knives. Even the smaller ones that he ends up making really end up working with larger hands. And that's a two thumbs up for me with having larger hands. Of course, this is going to be a full size knife, as is most of them that he ends up dealing with. And you can see that we have plenty kind of coming off here on the end. So, even if you are a crazy football or basketball player who's able to, palm a basketball without any effort whatsoever, you still got plenty of real estate on this handle to be able to hold on to that guy without any problems. And because we have a milled titanium pocket clip rather than a folded over deep carrying one, really nice. That pocket clip, by the way, very nice and subdued. Does curve over a little bit. Absolutely love that because it comes with that kind of bent over design a little bit, but that also keeps the pocket clip off of the lock bar altogether. So you don't have any kind of troubles with a pocket clip possibly putting extra pressure on there. It is a little bit different here in that the steel lock bar insert is actually attached by two screws instead of one. Not sure exactly why that needed to be the case. Doesn't really bother me in any way, shape, or form, but something that is a little bit different, so I figured I would point that out there. And I think one other thing that some folks will probably be a little sad about is that this kind of blade cutout here. It was pretty much put in there for design or aesthetics. Not something I can really use to get a reverse flick. Maybe if you have some really thin, that way kind of fingertips, maybe you could get in there. But for the most part, the flipper tab is basically the only way to go on this. We have it's a straight back until here, and then, drops off. So I would still, for the most part, end up calling that a drop point. I don't know, maybe you could call that a modified, weird, funky clip point. Either way, the tip is basically right in line with that pivot point. So right around where you would expect a drop point kind of knife to be. Let's see, what do we got for length? Usually I have these written down, but I felt like being kind of lazy today, so I will do the measurements here. And yeah, I got basically 3.74 inches, or just basically 95 millimeters. So fairly long knife, but still nice and thin. Kind of reminds me a bit of, I don't know, some of Ken Onion's work. Maybe like a little bit thinner kind of a version of a whirlwind or something like that from way back in the day when he was working at Kershaw instead of CKRT, where he does most of his stuff these days. It just ends up working out really, really well. The titanium, as we'll see later on when we go ahead and disassemble it, but I can pull out a little flashlight and show you on the inside that yeah, we do have some weight relieving milling done on the inside here. It's like I said, it's a fairly long knife, so you're not going to get that under ounce an inch, especially not with full titanium handles or anything like that. But still, it's a nice and light and nimble knife. Super comfortable, all sorts of grips. And you might think that flipper tab would get in the way of using a reverse grip. Maybe if you really, really overreach. Well, even then, it's not really. It's making contact, but it's not digging in at all. Even if I'm, really, really just gripping the absolute crap out of this thing. So reverse grips, super awesome for that. Of course, you got the saber grip with the jimping just where I would want it at least. Plunge grind is fantastic on this one. No problems getting quite a few sharpenings before you might need to worry about dealing with cutting in any more of a finger choil to avoid some smile on the blade. And the stop pin on it is internal to the blade, so you can cut it in wherever the hell you want. And this guy is also decently protected. When it's closed, you don't really have anything like a snaggletooth. As you can see there, I can get to it if I'm digging my finger in and using my fingernail to reach the blade. But still, it's very well, nicely designed. So that's great. I would, usually it's mostly an aesthetic choice sort of thing. But I would kind of appreciate having the Lockbar cutout done on the inside, especially when they've already done mill work on the inside of this as well. Just would have made that look maybe a little bit cleaner. But like I said, that doesn't really affect functionality at all. It's just kind of an aesthetic choice that I usually appreciate when folks end up doing that. Action's quite nice. Like I said earlier, the detent is very crisp on it. Let's see, what do we got for blade stock thickness on here? We got 3.7 millimeters. And if I actually move that back, I can actually pull up how many thousandths that ends up being. Oops, I was there. Looks like 146 thousandths. For those of you who actually do like very, very small measurements in imperial rather than metric. For me, anything really small, I end up preferring metric because millimeters make a lot more sense to me than thousandths of an inch. But hey, if you are a little bit more in that engineering and industrial sort of stuff here in the States, then that would probably make a little bit more sense for you. Yeah, this thing is just fantastic. Really, really nice and slim carry. I can't really think of a whole lot of other negatives. Yeah, just that flipper tab does stick out there quite a bit, and it kind of needs to for the amount of leverage needed because it's not situated much higher than the pivot itself. But, if that's something that doesn't necessarily bother you, and for a lot of people it really doesn't, then there you go. It's a really fantastic piece. I'm glad that they reissued these, and I was able to get a hold of one for a decent price. Let's see. Trying to think if there was anything that I was missing. Oh, I could probably yeah, I got a couple of measurements I can do here that I usually cover, which is the thickness on it. We got just under 0.55 of an inch. or a little over half an inch. We got basically 13.9 millimeters going on there for that. And the weight here. What do we got for that? Let's see, I'm already on ounces. Just a hair over 4 ounces at 4.04, or 114.5 grams. So not absolutely crazy lightweight, but hey, this thing is a fairly long knife anyway. How about if we do some blade size comparisons? That would probably help some folks out. See, this is a larger knife, so I will omit some of the smaller knives there. But there's the Spyderco Paramilitary 2. I don't know why not. I always like pulling out the Manix 2 XL when I can, and there we go. Actually, not as far off as I thought. This thing is obviously a much taller knife, but yeah, there's those couple. If you're into a little bit more old school Spyderco, there's the Endura, which is just a touch larger. Alright, for Benchmade, first up, I got this Griptilian. It's got G10 scales on it instead of the, I don't remember exactly what they're using for their handle scales now. They were ABS many years ago, but I do think they've changed the formulation. Anyway, there's the Benchmade 940. Here we go. Here's the Bug Out. Yes, much smaller, but hey, a lot of people really do consider that a gold standard, so it's probably important to cover it. Oh, I didn't move that. So there we go with the Rat number 1, which is pretty darn similar overall. I thought I had one other knife that I kind of wanted to pull out for it. Nope, I must have moved it. Oh well. I was going to pull out the Benchmade Freak because it's very similar in size to that. But yeah, there we go for some blade size comparisons. I don't know. I guess, yeah, another staple is the Civivi Elementum. Much smaller, but yeah, there you go. I do like the finger grooves. You don't just get one for your index finger. You get them for also an index finger. Works out super great. And then you got the other two there. I do like the flat area on the back. If you do want to have a little bit more relaxed grip, then you have a little bit more control with your pinky. But still, ends up working out really well. And we do have a nice Lockbar access here. It is slightly chamfered on the inside on both sides, but yeah, you do have a nice Lockbar access. No trouble getting in there whatsoever. So there we go. There's my review of the TS166. I'm glad they brought it back so I could be able to get one, since these things were another one that I think were discontinued before I started collecting the knives to begin with. But yeah, it's definitely a good one. So there's the standard review. We are going to go ahead and take this guy apart now. So if you want to stick around for that, glad to have you. If not, thanks for stopping by. So there we go. T8 hardware all the way around, just like almost all TwoSuns are. There we go. And then we have one at the back that goes through the back spacer into a Chicago screw, and of course the pivot there. Once we pop that guy open, then we can take a little bit closer look on the inside here, and we can see that yeah, we have a decent amount of weight relieving going on the inside of the handle scales. Really do appreciate that. And yeah, there was what I had mentioned earlier, where we have two screw points for the stainless or the steel insert into the lock bar there. They're standard bearing races. They're standard bearings, and yeah, of course we got the internal blade pin there, so it's not stuck through the handle scales there. Makes that a little bit easier to cut in a choil or something like that if you want. I will note that, like I said, this is one of the reissues, and because of that, the D-shaped pivot is actually keyed to the show side rather than the Lockbar side, which is how all their old knives were made. So this is kind of an interesting example of one of the few that were done with the lock with the D-shaped pivot being keyed on the show face before they started printing the model number on the blades, but it happened right around the same time. So yeah, there we go. This guy is going to be super simple to put back there. We got another couple of pins to hold the back spacer in place, so that's super nice and secure. I already have decent amounts of KPL applied here, so I don't really feel the need to throw any more on there, but I will get that back on there. And then, of course, we can toss the whole thing together. There we go. Actually get the pivot to go all the way through. That's usually helpful. At that point, I can close that guy up. Toss the one other body screw in there. There we go, after a little tiny bit of strugulation. Yeah. Making sure that I was decently centered there when I was tightening the pivot. And of course throwing the pocket clip back on there. No problem whatsoever. Super easy to pop this guy open and maintain, but it's nice and open on the back too, so generally you won't have to end up doing that. Now I have the pivot maybe just a touch tighter than it needs to be. Yeah, but still very nice, and nice action. There we go. Loosen that up a bit. Yeah. So that's basically everything I wanted to cover. I don't really think there's anything that I missed, but yeah, alrighty. Well, that's everything that I wanted to cover. So yeah, let me know your thoughts or anything down below, or if there's anything I can do that I haven't covered in these videos or something like that you'd be interested in. But yeah, other than that, I appreciate y'all for watching, and have yourself a wonderful rest of your day, yo. Subscribe.